When it comes to renting your property, one of the biggest mistakes an owner can make is rushing to fill a vacancy. At Elliott Eijo Group, we absolutely work to rent your property quickly, but never at the expense of quality, because the reality is this: the wrong tenant will cost you far more than a few extra weeks of vacancy ever will. That's why our focus is simple. We don't just place a tenant, we place the right tenant. What does proper tenant screening really mean? A lot of people think tenant screening is just running a credit report and calling it a day. It's not. In reality, that's just one small piece of a much bigger picture. At Elliott Eijo Group, we take a much more thorough and intentional approach because placing the right tenant isn't about checking a box. It's about understanding the full story behind the application. We're looking at patterns. Is this someone who consistently pays their obligations on time? Do they have stable, verifiable income? Have they taken care of the homes they've lived in before? Because those are the things that actually tell you what kind of tenant they're going to be. Every application we receive goes through a comprehensive screening process. We verify income and employment, review credit history, analyze debt levels, check rental history, and look for any prior evictions or red flags. But more importantly, we don't look at any of these things in isolation. We evaluate everything together so we can make a well-informed, balanced decision. And just as important as what we look at is how we do it. Our entire screening process is conducted in full compliance with all fair housing laws. We apply consistent criteria to every applicant, ensuring that our decisions are objective, defensible, and done the right way. Because in today's environment, it's not enough to just use good judgment. You have to follow the law, document your process, and make sure everything is handled properly. That's why we also stay up to date with changing legislation and industry guidelines. So every decision we make is not only smart from a business standpoint, but also fully compliant from a legal standpoint. At the end of the day, our goal is simple: place a tenant who pays on time, takes care of the property, and stays long term. Because when you get that part right, everything else becomes easier. To support that process, we focus on a few key areas: financial responsibility and credit behavior, verified income and overall affordability, debt obligations compared to income, rental history and landlord feedback, any prior evictions or risk indicators, and finally background screening as part of a complete review. When you take the time to properly screen a tenant up front, you set the tone for the entire lease. You're far more likely to have consistent rent payments, better care of the property, fewer issues and surprises, and longer, more stable tenancy. At the end of the day, the right tenant doesn't just fill your property, they protect your investment. Once the right tenant is in place, the next step is making sure everything is structured properly from a legal standpoint. We use attorney-drafted lease agreements designed to stay compliant with ever-changing landlord-tenant and fair housing laws, so everything is clearly defined, properly documented, and handled the right way from the start. At Elliott Eijo Group, our goal isn't just to fill your property, it's to set you up for long-term success. Because when you have the right tenant in place, everything else becomes easier. If you have any questions about how we screen tenants or how we can help manage your property, feel free to reach out to our office at 863-333-5161. We're here to help.